talked about build your own automation, some of the challenges with it. We talked about, vendor automation. Have you ever run into trying to take a vendor's automation and integrate that with some build your own automation?
It's not an answer to your specific question, but I think it's somewhat relevant. So in an environment I worked in, we had a vendor who had their own automation platform that we were not leveraging, because when that platform was stood up, we were just doing it like we always did, line by line. There are some automation platforms that will allow you to also be in the CLI and do it manually. So that's what we were doing for a very long time. Fast forward to a business need comes up and something has to be updated. I don't know, it's a security thing or whatever. We're like, hey, we have to update this config line in all the devices. It could be an NTP server, it could be SNMP, management type stuff. It's going to be a common setting in all of them. So this poor unsuspecting soul went to this vendor's automation platform, did what he thought he was supposed to do, put into this platform the change he wanted to make. And that platform went out and made that change to every device. The problem was that because we were managing the configs manually, that platform, all it knew about the existing config was that they were empty. So when it looked and it said, oh, well, I have to add this one thing. So it went into the devices, it wiped every config out of thousands of switches across multiple fabrics and only put in this little management change that we needed, which caused a huge outage. So it's not the answer to your specific question where you're trying to integrate, open source automation to a vendor's automation, but I can tell you that the simple act of manually configuring and managing your platform, which is what we've been doing forever, and then bringing an automation platform in and not really understanding the interplay of those two. And, now I know that you should not manually manage your configs if you're using an automation platform, because there will be conflicts. And a good automation platform, like an intent-based one like Apstra, will look at the, whatever you want to call it, golden config, but this is what should be there. And if it does a diff and it sees things that it determines shouldn't be there, they go bye-bye, which is what happened in that example I just gave you. Oh, I see what should be here because this is what the intelligence knows about. So I'm going to wipe everything out that shouldn't be there. And, that was, I don't know how common that is in the industry, but, one of the things with automation that I've seen happen and is a concern for older school guys like myself is you can do things very fast, which is great as long as you're not breaking something. But you can break all the things really fast with automation. So I think it ties into a couple of things we're talking about: challenges with automation, challenges with NetOps, expectations of leadership. Is it easy? It's easy to say, well, we're just going to buy into this vendor automation solution and use it. But you have to look at how your environment is working before that automation comes in. What's different about this automation solution? Is there a disconnect between those two? How do you rectify them? And then you have to get all of your people on board. This guy who used the automation platform thinking he was doing the right thing, it was never communicated to him that that could be a problem and that the fabric had been managed manually all this time. He had no idea, because in a larger company, people aren't talking, so there's a lot there, right? If you're going to bring in an automation platform that's a vendor, you have to get it working. You have to get trained up on it. You have to understand how it relates to your existing infrastructure. You have to know how to use it. You have to know how to back out if something weird happens. And I can tell you that outage that I just mentioned, it took way too long. I mean, it took so long just to figure out what was happening. Oh my God, why did all the fabric just disappear in most of our data centers, right? And what it wiped out was all the management stuff. So I don't think we could even get in to fix stuff. So that's automation's great, but you want to go fast, but you also want to ensure that you understand the platform. Hopefully the platform is simple enough for the user to not be able to blow up all your fabric in all of your data centers, right? And the better solutions I've seen, they spell that all out. It's very, multiple migrations. Like if somebody wants to go to a vendor automation platform and they're concerned, well, hey, here's, 300 Fortune 500 companies that have done this and they're kicking butt. It's hard to be the first guy on the block. Like, hey, try this thing. We won't break your stuff, I swear. But, products like Apstra have a track record of, hey, look at all these huge global technical companies that have gone to this. It went well. They didn't blow up all their stuff, and now they're more agile. Their uptime. You know, I've seen statistics. You know, the error. What is it? Outages based on configuration. Most outages I've seen. I mean, yeah, circuits go down, but you plan and you design networks to route around physical failures. And most outages I've seen are the result of configuration changes that were incorrect. We thought they were correct. They look correct. We labbed them. We had meetings with all the, everybody signed off on it. It was reviewed, but whoops, we put it in and it did something strange. I love the intent-based model because you don't need to manually write a config and hope that the intent that you meant to write in all those lines of code gets interpreted by the platform and the infrastructure as the same thing. You can just tell an intent-based system, this is what I want. And it just abstracts all that minutia away and it just goes and does it. The intelligence of the system. Like, oh, you want a new whatever? Sure, I'll go do that. As opposed to me, who something as simple as adding a VLAN, it's a segment in layer 2 in networking. If you can add it in a way that you wipe out all the existing VLANs and break all the connectivity that's already in place. You have to add it to these interconnects called trunks. And if you forget to put switch port add trunk, I forget what the command is, but this is the problem about like manual stuff is, if you forget this one command, it adds that and deletes everything that already existed. And every network engineer has done that at one point. We need new connectivity in this domain. You add the new connectivity and you break everything else that was already working, right? In an intent-based model, like abstract, it's not going to do that. It's going to know, oh, nobody ever wipes out all the existing connectivity to add new. But, again, for me, who might be tired at 3 a.m. on my third maintenance window of the week, maybe I got a baby at home and I'm not sleeping good anyway. I mean, accidents happen with config changes. It breaks stuff. And any kind of automation system that can reduce outages because of configuration errors, to me, I mean, that's just solid gold. Like, why wouldn't you do that, right? Like, you don't want to break your stuff. So use a platform that helps you not break stuff. Again, you can tell, I'm not trying to be like a company shill guy here, but I think of all the pain that I've caused in production that could have been, avoided by using a really smart automation platform. So.
Right. Yeah. And you kind of hit on an interesting point there. Fast is great. And that's always the goal is we want to go fast. We want to go faster. But if you take automation, whether it's automation you build yourself, whether it's automation from a vendor that, is focused on the speed, or even if you're just, trying to type real fast, right? So do it in 23 hours instead of 24. You're bound to make mistakes. You lose the reliability. So having an automation tool that, also has that focus on reliability is what's really going to allow you to go fast. There's a saying that the Navy SEALs have: slow is smooth and smooth is fast, right? So you pay a little bit more attention to exactly what you're doing and make sure you're not making mistakes, which makes you smooth. And as long as you're smooth, the whole operation is going to go a lot faster, and you're not going to have to go back and redo it. Consequences a little more dire in their circumstances. But it's like you get a new automation tool, you build some new automation, you just focus on, this can make it go really fast. But if you don't focus on making sure it's correct, or the tool doesn't have the backup to say, oh, hold on, stop, take a break here, we gotta make sure this is what you really want to do, that's when you run into problems and it actually takes you a lot longer than it would have.